All right, y'all. Let's talk about the bubble for a little bit because recently Adebayo was on the OG's podcast, which is Udonis Aslim and Mike, Killer Mike, they like to call him, an NBA podcast from two former Miami Heat. We're going to call them legends because they help setting up the culture over there. So pretty entertaining. And they opened up about the bubble, and Adebayo called it the hardest experience of all time, probably the hardest championship to win in his opinion. And then Dwight Howard took to social media to double down and said that he 100% agreed, and he in fact called it even harder than that run he had going through Kobe in 2009, although they lost, right? So the reason why we're making this video is not to actually go with them and say that this is the hardest championship to win ever, just because of who was actually in the finals. The Lakers were the heavy favorites. However, I'm just here to acknowledge that this championship was for real, and because I'm tired of all these people trying to discredit the accomplishment that this championship was. At this point, there's so many players who have come out from different, type of interests saying that this is legit hard. So before we go any further, let's take a listen back to what both Dwight Howard and Adebayo had to say about this, and then we can come back and react to it. So, but before I play the clips, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
That was harder than anything else. There's no fans, no momentum. Or people who played in the bubble, they know how difficult it was to be sitting in a hotel room and night in and night out for 3 months away from your family, from your kids. My son, mom, that passed away. He couldn't even get into the bubble with me. He just lost his mom. And he's sad and he called me crying, "Daddy, where are you?" They don't understand what we were going through. It's a pandemic. People trying to figure out how they gonna eat. They was feeding us like frozen kid cuisine type foods. No guests, no nothing. Like the only motivation is let's really win. Crazy because when we had our little meal room, Denver was right across from us. So I was messing with Jokic every day. We still won it. Everybody went down there and played. And we still didn't get a parade.
That was the hardest championship to win, in my opinion. 15 deep, plus coaches, staff, whatever you need, like training staff. Other than that, it's you, your thoughts in one room, boxed in.
I ain't talking to nobody.
Listen,
I ain't talking to nobody from the other team.
It felt like you was gang affiliated when you was in the bubble.
Yeah, I chose my side.
Lakers got on purple and gold. We got on black. The Bucks got on their green. And nobody was walking by themselves. So I'm his protege. So at this point, that's my best friend in the bubble.
Yes, sir.
Man, we like this. It was like we walking, we ain't speaking to nobody. I'm talking about. It was like we was walking around like mad at everybody.
All right, so you heard both the mans, right? So now what I want to do is really list most of the players that I've heard actually coming out and say that this is the hardest championship of all time. So we have Dwight Howard, obviously, Adebayo. Udonis Aslim was out there on the podcast, and we know he takes no bullshit or whatever. He actually just called out LeBron James for celebrating the in-season tournament, and he pretty much co-signed it, so I'm going to add him to the list. Same with Mike, right? We have Iman Shumpert, Metta World Peace, Gilbert Arenas, Danny Green, and LeBron James himself. And I'm probably forgetting some names right there, right? So these are all these names. So before, I know a lot of people are just going to try and discredit some of these names. So we are going to ignore those who had nothing to do with that championship. So Shump, we're going to ignore that. Metta World Peace, we're going to ignore that. Gilbert Arenas, we're going to ignore that. So now let's look at the 4 names who actually were in that championship, who called it the hardest. So Dwight, obviously, 2 finals appearances. 1-1, lost in 2009 after beating LeBron James in the conference finals, and pretty much spoiling an all-time showdown in the finals between LeBron, Cavs, and Kobe Bryant's Lakers. He made it to the finals, to the Lakers, to Kobe, and lost in 2009. Second run, obviously, he came out on the good hand of the spectrum and won as we're going to call it a role player, although it was great. So for Dwight, I guess if you want to hate, you can just say, okay, so he's 1-1 in the finals. He's just trying to prop up his own championship. Okay, fair enough. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt on that end, right? Adebayo now. So what for him? He's 0-2 in the finals. if you look at both finals, which one was the hardest for the Miami Heat, in your opinion? You have on one end, the Miami Heat in the bubble were injured. In fact, Goran Dragic was the leading scorer for the team. He did not even play in the finals because he was hurt. And I believe it was Tyler Hero. No, not Tyler Hero. It was Duncan Robinson, who was Nick and Nack dealing with some stuff also in the finals. And still, they were going against both LeBron James, who, in my opinion, that year was still the best player in the world. He's not anymore, but he was still the best player in the world. And AD, and Rondo, and KCP, and Kuzma, and Caruso, and Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee, and I can keep going. They were going against all of that talent, and they still got 2 games. And if it wasn't for a few in and out shots, it could have been 3. The Lakers would have won regardless, but still, they played the Lakers very hard, right? What was it against the Nuggets? Against the Nuggets, it barely even felt like the finals. They got wiped off the floor. The Nuggets took their foot off the gas in game 2, so they got game 2. But other than that, it was just a complete beatdown against the Nuggets. And still, Bam Adebayo said the bubble situation was harder because of all of the mental stuff. All of the fact that no distraction, no cutoff, it's just basketball, you and your thoughts. Meaning that, you know, like, I was so far from being a professional at basketball. I just played. Just like I assume most of the people liking and or watching the video, y'all play basketball at some level, right? You know, after a game when you go out there and you play bad, do you imagine if you had no distractions to actually take your mind away from the game and you just had to sit with your thoughts and all of the plays, all of the bad stuff would just replay in your head over and over and over and over again? Man, that has to be tough. So, yeah, this is what Bam, in my opinion, was talking about. So, you got Bam. Now you got Udi. Udonis Haslem. 4 championships. He was a part of those super big championships that they had to win over the Spurs. When they won over the OKC Thunder. But they had to go through the Boston Celtics. He was a part of all of that. And, in fact, he was playing. And Udi was still saying that, co-signing, because it did not say that, but co-signing Bam Adebayo on the bubble being the hardest one, and he wasn't even a player anymore. Do you realize that? He wasn't even playing. He was just out there pretty much as a assistant coach or something, and he still co-signed that. So that's UD. And the last player on that list is DG, Danny Green. So 3 championships, and he was a part of some super tough battles too, and he still said this was the hardest. Oh, and I almost forgot, but how could I? Last but not least, LeBron James himself. So LeBron James, some people will say, oh, yeah, he's just trying to prop up his accomplishments. Fair enough. If LeBron had come out and said, yeah, the bubble was super hard, okay, I would have been like, yeah, you may be guessing it a little bit. But the fact that he would call it even harder than what he had to do to overcome the Golden State Warriors is crazy to me. That just goes to show you that he might be capping on hardest of all time, but it still shows the level of difficulty that he felt was, at least on the mental side, going to the bubble and everything. So that's the list of those players, right? Now we also got to address the fact that a bunch of players who were, quote-unquote, portrayed as tough by the media totally broke down mentally because of the bubble environment. The biggest example was obviously Playoff P. When he did redeem himself now in the playoffs, I don't think people are still clowning him for what he was doing in the bubble, but in the bubble, he was just dog shit. With all due respect, hitting the side of the backboard, was missing layups and everything. Even if you look at the Clippers as a whole, if you remember the propaganda against for the Clippers in 2019, 2020, man, it was just ridiculous. Yeah, the best wing duo since Mike and Scotty, a bunch of dogs. The Lakers don't have dogs. The Leagues don't have dogs. The Clippers have Marcus Morris. They have Pat Beverly. They have obviously Kawhi and PG. They have Marshall Zara, all these tough guys, and they still choked. What happened to all that mental toughness? In the bubble, it went away. So now, again, I am not saying this is indeed the hardest championship to win just because the Lakers were so much better than the Miami Heat, in my opinion, and competition does matter. So I can't call it the hardest of all time, but it is most definitely legit. Now let's debunk some of the arguments that keep on coming around to downgrade or downplay this championship. The main arguments were there's no fans. So in my opinion, this just holds no weight. Why? No fans. Who do you think was the most affected by the lack of fans? Who would have benefited more to have fans in the stands than the Lakers? The Lakers arguably probably have the biggest fan base regardless. So you have that. They were the first seed, meaning they would have home court and the first seed in the NBA, not just in the West. So they would have home court every time. And LeBron James is on the team. They would have had the most fans going into any series. So you took that advantage away from the Lakers. So that's that. No traveling. That's the same for everyone. Literally for everyone. I don't see why this is an argument. Now, you got a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter because the Clippers checked out, which is ridiculous because they were involved enough, obviously, to get up 3-1, and they still choked. So this has nothing with them being, oh, like, yeah, this holds no weight, we don't care. Nah, they just choked, which happens, but they choked. We have to say that. And now the last argument is the fact that, it gave LeBron James and Anthony Davis the opportunity to rest. So first of all, obviously, why just them? Players super injury prone, like the Kawhis of the world, for example, were able to rest also, to come out fully healthy. So that levels out the playing field because everybody was fully healthy in the bubble, at least fully rested. And doesn't that also say that we all agree that barring injuries, the Lakers were regardless the better team? That's what that sounds like to me. That if the Lakers did not get injured, they would have went on to win the championship. That's what that sounds like. So the better team won the championship. How is that Mickey? That makes no sense to me. So now I would understand trying to be like, yeah, the bubble changed everything for the Lakers. If we were talking about the Lakers from this year, for example, a team that's going to struggle to make it into the playoffs, they're probably going to have to go to the play-in, and they just do not look like a serious threat at the championship right now. And then we just stop the season, and then they just put the right back in the bubble, and now they're a completely different team. They start to dominate others. At that level of success came out of nowhere for the Lakers, I would understand, be like, oh yeah, this is fluky. But you guys must not remember how the Lakers were just running through everybody that year. They were the number one seed all year, literally all year. That roster was stacked from top to bottom. They were starting LeBron James at point, so they were always the bigger team. First of all, the smallest guy on the court for the Lakers was Alex Caruso. It was not super small like that. So they had Caruso at the 2. They had either KCP or Danny Green at the 3. Then they had AD at the 4, which is his main position. And AD had arguably his greatest season out there, at least shooting from outside. That was absolutely his best season. And then you still had the big in JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard as the 5. Then coming off the bench, you still had guys like Kuz. You still had Rondo, who was still very effective. And I can keep going. Like, that team was just great. Legit. They were the most experienced team. As I said, they were bigger than everyone. What else can we say about the Lakers? They were super great defensively because LeBron was still playing defense that year. I think it was pretty much one of the top 5, top 10 leading players in defensive win shares. That means what that means, but that just shows that he was still playing defense, and all of the other guys are great defensive players who could switch everything. They would control the paint every time. They would out-rebound teams. LeBron James was leading the league in assists, and that's the only time, just because they were so versatile offensively. He could just play the pick and roll with AD or with Dwight or with JaVale McGee. The pick and pop with AD was just as lethal. Like, you see the way Joel Embiid will do the pick and pop right now. You give him that pocket pass in the mid-range and it's money all the time. AD was like that year. Pretty much like that. So it was just easy money every time on offense. Like, and again, they were just the number one seed all year. Plus, they had the IQ advantage all the time with either LeBron or Rondo, if not both being on the court at the same time. And Rondo, for whatever reason, he was shooting the 3 pretty good that year. Like, they just had everything going for them. They were the best team. So I don't see why them playing in different circumstances that they would have had played with that home court advantage the whole time makes that championship Mickey. It makes no sense. So now, before we get out of here, we just have to address why people are really hating on that championship. Let's be all the way honest. It's because of 2 things. One is LeBron James that won. Second, it's the Lakers that won it. had the Clippers went up there and won that championship, no one would say a word. No one. Had the Miami Heat won that championship, especially at the expense of LeBron James, the narrative would be, see, he ain't clutch, he ain't mentally tough, he couldn't handle the pressure of the bubble. That's what you guys would say. But now that LeBron James actually overcame that pressure, now that the Lakers actually overcame that pressure, y'all want to say, oh, shit, it's just the bubble. It doesn't matter. It's fluky. He didn't have to travel. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Like, again, is it the hardest championship of all time? Probably not. But it is legit. Plus the fact that there's so many players saying it. Like, I get the fact that, being an athlete doesn't make you right all of the time. But when it's multiple players coming out, especially players that were in it against us, guys like you and me, like me making this video and you watching, who had no idea of the actual environment that was the bubble. Like, why? We sound dumb just being like, oh yeah, all these athletes are saying the same stuff, but still they're wrong. Still, just because I want to hate. It makes no sense. Like that story that Dwight Howard said about the passing of the mother of his child or whatever while still being in the bubble, that would get to anyone. It's real shit. And he still had to go out there and play basketball, and he did that great, guarded Jokic, probably better than anyone in history in the playoffs. So yeah. So anyways, the video is long enough as it is, man. But if you made it this far, first of all, I appreciate you. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. I got more content on the way. But more importantly, let's discuss this in the comment section. Is the title indeed the hardest one in your opinion? If not, tell us why. Do you think it's legit? Should there be an asterisk? And yeah, appreciate you guys for checking me out again. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.